No, Mom, I didn't want this toy. I wanted the other toy, Mom. Mom, you gave me the wrong toy. Mom. Forza Horizon 4 is so good. I've been seriously hooked onto this game these past few weeks, as you can probably tell by my upload schedule. And all I have to say is, Turn 10 Playground Games absolutely nailed the game. The driving feels amazing, the physics are great, and the map is quite simply unmatched. I'm going to come out as biased, but I genuinely believe that this is the best open world racing game to have ever been launched. It's perfect. Or it would be perfect if it weren't for all the really just straight up dumb issues that it has. But like I said, the driving is amazing, the physics are great, and the map is unmatched, so why is it not perfect? What's keeping this masterpiece from reaching perfection? What is the missing ingredient here? Let's look back a bit first. Remember my video about the 5 worst things in Horizon 3? All of those issues still remain, admittedly some due to a much lesser extent than they did before. For instance, the map comes to mind. It's obvious that they improved the map a lot. But the biggest issue with this game, and one that I fortunately didn't have to cover in my Horizon 3 video since it wasn't an issue in that game to begin with, is not the sound. I see a lot of people whining about the sound in this game. I don't understand, honestly. Some cars do have a worse sound, but others also have better sound than they did in Horizon 3, and Turn 10 has proved that they are listening, they are improving the sounds, but no, you shouldn't be complaining about the sounds when this game has a terrible, and I mean terrible, multiplayer system. The biggest issue with this game is the multiplayer. It sucks. There are so many issues with this game's multiplayer that I don't even know where I should start, so I'll go about the issues in order of my own experience. The 12-player free roam lobbies from Horizon 3 have been replaced with 72-player worlds, but you can only see 12 people at a time depending on proximity. I can somewhat understand this change since on the one hand having 12 people in the whole map would make it feel sorta empty, and on the other hand having 72 players would probably overload the server. The problem here is you can't make your own private lobby. You need to go look for another one via matchmaking. Admittedly, this might not sound like a big issue, but let's say you're a YouTuber who likes bringing your community together through events that you host. If you were to get in a group of friends and then look for a lobby, not only would it take a long time to find one, but if you joined a full lobby with your friends, and someone else joined the group afterwards, you'd have to spend even more time looking for another lobby, because your current one is full. Keep in mind that finding a Horizon Live session can sometimes take very tedious amounts of time. And don't forget about that last bit, because once you're all finally in the lobby, if you decide to host a race, by the time you finish the race, instead of putting all of you back in that same lobby you were in just before, you all get placed in your own world by yourselves until the leader of the convoy spends yet more time looking for yet another lobby, which takes very tedious amounts of time. But Purple, if hosting races is that bad in online sessions, why not use the private adventure feature? For some reason, private adventures don't give you any credits upon completion. Furthermore, and I am aware this is a very personal thing, but I'm sure more people agree with me, I don't really want to use the same car in a row for multiple events. But the biggest offender in all of this is that in private adventure sessions, they force you to use teams, and oh boy, speaking of forcing you to use teams, hey you, yes you, are you sick and tired of losing in a video game? Are you unable to finish at least 5th most races? Are you not interested in improving as a racer? Well, fear not, with the forced inclusion of team adventures, you too can be a winner, even if you finish last place. All you need is either good drivers on your team, or an enemy team made up of drivers somehow even worse than you. Thanks to Horizon 4's team adventures, everybody can be a winner, whether they earn it or not. I try to be respectful and look at things from both sides' perspectives when I decide to complain about anything, but I honestly don't understand the thought process behind this. Who thought this was a good idea? Forced teams in a racing game against randoms. Why? What was wrong with Horizon 3's system? What's wrong with Gran Turismo's sports system? Hell, what's wrong with racing as a whole? Why not let the winner win and the loser lose? Just why? I don't understand. You shouldn't get the same amount of praise for finishing last as you would for finishing first. Why have your success and inevitably your failure tied to your teammates? I don't want to carry someone who doesn't know how to drive, nor do I want to be held down by my teammates despite doing great in a race. But let me show you something else. Okay, let's say we give Forza the benefit of the doubt here and agree with her decision to force teams on online adventure. No, yeah, sure. You win as a team, you lose as a team. Everybody's a winner. If I were to agree with that decision, there's still one thing which I can only describe as adding insult to injury. Teams are also forced in ranked races. This one just completely blows my mind. One thing is having your race results tied to a team. Another thing is having an individual rank tied to a team of randoms. If winning a ranked adventure is dependent on your team no matter how well you do, then it's not really your rank by the end of the day. You could be finishing last place every single race and be the same rank as someone who finishes in the top 3 90% of the time. Just think about that for a moment. If that's not wrong, I don't know what is. Not to mention there is no real fix for this. You can't even play with your own convoy in ranked adventure because 90% of the time it'll just make you ditch your own convoy and it'll put you in the match by yourself. Somehow Turn 10 hasn't fixed this yet. I can kind of understand forcing teams on normal matches even though it's a terrible gameplay choice, but please, for the love of God, at least give players a choice in ranked. This is ridiculous. Maybe force teams on whenever you queue up with a convoy, but make them optional whenever you're queuing up alone? That would be good. And I wish teams were the only issue with the multiplayer in this game because, oh boy, we need to talk about free roam rush. If you're not familiar, an online adventure consists of 5 quote-unquote races. In other words, 3 race events and 2 free roam rushes in between. Free roam rushes, for those who don't know, consist of racing from one event to another in free roam without any checkpoints. The big issue with free roam rush is that it only benefits one car class, and that's extreme off-road vehicles such as trucks, jeeps and buggies. Asphalt cars are not fit for cutting across open fields for very obvious reasons, and if you stick to the road like they were meant to, you'll lose a lot of time. Rally cars also suffer in free roam rush due to the fact that they usually trade top speed for acceleration, along with not having as much ground clearance as pure off-roaders. So you can actually get punished for picking the correct car just because of free roam rush. And most of the time there's a lot of luck involved as well, since you need to pray to not hit a random tree in the middle of nowhere. So the question remains, why include free roam rush? It only benefits one car class in the entire game and is highly dependent on luck. It drags on matches for longer than they should last, and if I wanted to drive around in free roam to begin with, I'd stay in Horizon Life. If I'm looking for an online adventure, that clearly means I'm looking for races, you know, with checkpoints in them. Also, quick side note, but for some reason B, C and D class races are gone now, and for some reason you can't pick the class you want to race in. I mean, I know I'm not exactly speaking for a majority of people here, but lower class racing is really fun once you get the hang of building proper cars for it. A lot more fun than racing S1 and S2 over and over and over again. I guess the Forza team didn't want to punish players for not knowing how to tune lower classes, and speaking of which, I'm gonna end the video with a bit of a pattern I've noticed, and that is, this game just reeks of insecurity. You can really just tell the devs are very scared of punishing players for doing anything wrong. And that's a bad thing because it gives them no reason to seek improvement. I understand the decision. In theory, if your players don't get punished, they won't get upset and they'll keep playing the game. If your players always win despite being at the bottom of the scoreboard, they won't get mad at the game. If your players have a chance to win 2 out of 5 races in an online adventure due to sheer luck, they'll think they're good. If your players only have to tune a car for 3 different classes, they'll never come unprepared and have a bad experience. If your players can get away with ramming into walls and actually end up being even rewarded for it, they'll never rage quit if they miss a corner. All of this combined will help your player base not lose interest in the game. of course, this only really applies in theory, because in practice what really happens is if your players always win despite being at the bottom, they'll have no real incentive to get any better at the game, and as such they will lose interest and they will get burnt out sooner. Not to mention you'll most likely make the players who lose despite being at the top leave. If your players have a chance to win 2 out of 5 races due to sheer luck, they won't have any reason to do their best to win the normal races themselves, and will rely on free roam rush instead. If your players only have to tune a car for 3 different classes, not only will those 3 different classes get repetitive very quick, but they will miss out on a lot of the fun of the lower classes and they will never learn how to tune properly. Not to mention there is a large majority of cars in the game that when fully upgraded only reach B class and lower, so you end up not using some of the cars you put in the game yourself. If your players can get away with ramming into walls and actually end up even being rewarded for it, why would they ever strive to become better at cornering? The Forza devs seem to be very insecure and very scared of punishing players so that they don't go away, but the exact opposite is happening. It's because they don't punish players that the players themselves are starting to lose interest in the game. The good news is most of the issues I mentioned are very easy to fix. Number 1. Give us back private free roam sessions, or at least make it easier and less time consuming to host a single race in Horizon Life. Number 2. Remove forced teams. Make them optional. If not, then at the very least remove them in ranked adventures. If not even that, then at least fix ranked convoy matchmaking and allow me to queue up for a ranked match with my friends or people that I trust. Number 3. Rework online adventure. In other words, remove free roam rush. There is no reason for this game mode to exist. Please remove it and just replace it with more races. Number 4. Give us back B, C and D class online adventures and let us pick what class we want to race in. As it stands, anything below A class is useless since you'll only get to use them in private lobbies, even though they're a lot of fun. Number 5, and I know I didn't really touch on this one a lot, but rework some of the walls around the tracks. As it stands, some tracks have corners which will actually reward you for not braking. Either put the walls further away from the track or just remove them entirely. Those are the good news. The bad news is they probably won't do any of this unless people talk about these issues. So you know what? Do just that. If you care about the game and wish to see it improve, go talk about this in the internet. Spread the word across the forums. Hell, share this video around. Hopefully someone from Turn 10 sees this. If something as insignificant as whining about car sounds can get their attention, I have zero doubts that talking about something this serious will get ignored. I love Forza Horizon 4. I've been playing it a lot these past few weeks and, like I said, I truly believe this game is damn near perfect. And I just want to see this game improve upon itself. And I believe that it's possible for Horizon 4 to live on as one of the greatest racing games to have ever been launched. It just needs a bit of polishing here and there. But I'm sure we can get there.